What do Egyptians and the Kardashians have in common? They both had no clue that one day their daddy would become a mummy. But commonalities are a good thing. It's how connections form and how we bond as a society. Let's dive into the common go nowhere, featuring your host and the man who doesn't have a soy-soaked spine, Zebidiah Funkbutter! Sorry, but one does not become original, hip, creative, nor individualistic by mimicking others. Most failures originate in people's lives due to their adverse willingness to recognize opportunities and act upon them. Instead, get in the habit of saying yes. Better to be spontaneous and occasionally wrong than to be cautious and right every single time. Through spontaneity, we are reformed into ourselves. Built upon the absurd fiction that only a scheduled life is a productive life, far too many have this ridiculous quasi-religious devotion to schedules. Some of us happen to find this bargain unappealing, as it can bankrupt one's lust for life. Spontaneity is being present in the present. This overthinking and planning leads to passivity and little action. It's called paralysis by analysis. Yes, it is always wise to calculate the consequences of one's decision, but an overscheduled life tends to have a rotting effect on the human spirit. That is why being open to saying yes is so beneficial. Unplanned moments are almost always better than planned ones, so be spontaneous, go out and have fun and let things happen naturally, just like Tony Pepperoni here. It takes guts to stand up to the machine. You own yourself, and since you are watching this, it is doubtful you wish to live a life of stark, sedated conformity. I actually pity those who believe they are safe by doing whatever everyone else is doing. This is normal, but it's folly that is demonstrable time and again. You can't be common. The common go nowhere. You must be uncommon to be an interesting person. It can be a bit lonely being a contrarian. However, contrarian thinkers often have the foresight to see hidden opportunities. Being unconventional is actually quite pragmatic, as attested to the fact that all the great innovators of history have been contrarians. Rid yourself of groupthink, because what one finds comforting may be stagnating to someone else. Always stay ahead of the pack and always retain healthy levels of skepticism and dismissiveness. This is not being closed-minded, it is maintaining wisdom. Another faux pas occurs when people confuse a contrarian with an eccentric. The contrarian challenges himself to think differently, has charisma, and has a purpose, plus is not afraid to stretch his comfort zone. Meanwhile, the eccentric has an increased propensity to regard the fictional as representative of reality, but tends to venture a bit too far from the shores of sanity via shock value. Eat peanut brittle prior to a dentist visit, and presto, you are an ignored eccentric. Much of your thoughts and lifestyle choices will be rejected by society. Mentally prepare for this certainty, as independent thinking upsets society's sham authoritarians. Creativity is a key component of intelligence, but many do not understand creativity. Dr. Seuss, Tim Burton, Sigmund Freud, and Albert Einstein were all mocked for their divergent thinking. But as you can see, originality gets rewarded in the real world. Injun jokes say, joke time. What does the Pink Panther and a male prostitute have in common? They're both Peter Sellers. Injun Joe say, good one, Zeb. Life is all about taking sensory data and forming rational thoughts. Keep in mind you are in charge of what goes on in your head. You cannot distrust affection, nor can you have allergies to laughing. You cannot have all the charisma of a speed bump, nor can your emotions run the gamut less than from A to B. Proper judgment has never been a facts optional exercise, and the fact is, It will be easier to win the charisma battle if your quiver is overflowing with arrows. As you can see, cultivating charismatic qualities can take a fair amount of self-reflective work. What is your happiness, well-being, and life worth? Self-improvement is rarely easy, but face it, your shit ain't working. Redirecting your life's approach while deserting your old ways requires unfaltering tenacity. Old habits are much like crabgrass. Once they take root, they are tough to eradicate. Look, it took what it took to get you here, but you can change yourself in order to achieve better relationships and an improved life, as long as you are willing to take honest personal responsibility. There are two great teachers in life, pleasure and pain. And since humility is a virtue and is the key to all change, I suggest you opt for pleasure. Determining what you do and do not want out of life and not being afraid to embrace change is essential in your move to heretically re-energize your life. 0 people are perfect, yet life has risks and fortune only favors the bold. Whether you deem it good or bad, people are judging you constantly. This unpopular truth is easily managed when you understand the fundamentals because you are less likely to find yourself perplexed. These fundamentals consist of a scale where your status is measured, judged, and your value is established. Pitting oneself against his fellow man on this social scale may sound a tad creepy, but we must assess the world how it accurately is and not how we wish it were. Here are some ways to tip the scale's balance in order to distinguish yourself from the commoners in the thundering herd. Let's see. Boring, long-winded joke teller or someone with funny, clever wit. Mustache and beer belly or trim, broad-shouldered, and a mysterious smile. An Applebee and Olive Garden diner or quirky unknown restaurants and fine dining. Excessive protruding nose and ear hair, or someone who owns a mirror. Uncreative simpleton in a bland located condo, or one who figured out how to live oceanfront for the same money. An Arthur Murray dance step follower, or one who can feel the music plus has a few wow moves. Bow shoe deodorizing clerk at Frontier Lanes, or professional poker player. Timid metro male, or confident, capable alpha man. Silver spooner who won the vaginal exit sweepstakes, or a gritty individual gallantly taking on the world. Spending 2 months planning a Disneyland trip, or spontaneously hopping on a 26-hour bus ride deep into Mexico. Art is short for Arturo, right? Or one who has several favorite artists. Mr. Statistic hanging out at a strip mall sports bar, or gets treated like a king at posh oceanfront hotel, befriending head bartenders. Pseudo-intellectual into his 3 cats, movies, and Starbucks, or a writer in the yacht club who has front row center season theater tickets. This scale starkly illustrates that one side is fun, has game, and is interesting, while the other side appears to have no game and is therefore hopelessly obtuse. You can't unknow what you know to be true. Clearly, the person in the right-hand column is a more keen-witted and interesting person because his comfort level is an adventurous accrual of interesting life decisions and experiences. This guy has a true sense of what it means to be alive. The left-hand column is exceedingly vacuous due to their lack of mettle and fear to leave their sedated comfort zone.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
We are genetically wired to seek out pleasurable experiences. Thankfully, this was one of them.